Good evening, Zimbabwe. You are listening to Studio 7 from the Voice of America on Monday, November 3rd, 2014. And this is Live Talk. I'm Blessing Zulu.
And I'm Gibbs Dube.
And tonight on Live Talk, we are going to talk about the just ended MDCT Congress.
To join the discussion, phone us directly at this number, 001-202-619-2077, and we'll call you back.
And as usual, Live Talk goes out to Zimbabwe on our 909 medium wave frequency and on the 4930, 590 and 15455 kilohertz shortwave, Monday through Friday at 8:30 p.m.
And on the internet, you can find us at www.voazimbabwe.com, www.voashona.com, and www.voaindevele.com.
Galvanize the nation for the end game. The solution to the national crisis lies in us, to ourselves. Surrender and capitulation to our fate will not help much. We have to be brave and we have to take action. It means rejecting the economic misery brought upon us by ZANU-PF and reclaiming our share in the wealth of this country, which has been a preserve for a parasitic clique in ZANU-PF. It means demanding to see what is not working to be fixed. From the economy, our democracy, our constitution, our rule of law, service delivery, infrastructure, electricity, water and sanitation.
Ndinotenga vatsigiri vazhinji vese veMDC vakavhota paCongress. Zvisinei nekuti vakavhota ini kana kuti vakavhotera umwe asiri ini. Asi chakanyanya kukosha ndechekuti vana veMDC vakavhota murunyararo, havana kutukana, havana kurovana. Ndizvo zvatinoda isu musangano medu. Saka ndinoda kutenda nevatsigiri vakandivhotera nokuti ndakavhoterwa nevanhu vakawanda chaizvo.
Lokhu ukufaka amandla amaningi esikhundleni sikamongameli wephathi kucishe kufane kakhulu lalokhu okwenziwa kuZANU-PF okuthiwa u-First Secretary ulamandla uku-appoint i-Policy Bureau ulamandla uku-appoint i-Central Committee. Abantu ngalezi nsuku basebenzela ukuthiwa yintandweni idemocracy ukuthi abantu balelungelo lokukhetha. Ngakho inhlanganiso enikeza amandla amaningi esikhundleni esisodwa ilengozi yokuthi igcina isebenza against uZulu lo ethi yamsebenza.
Once again, thanks for joining us. And for those of you who are just joining us, this is Studio 7 Live Talk. And tonight on Live Talk, we are talking about the MDCT Congress.
The MDCT ushered new leaders at the Congress, and the shock defeat of former organizing secretary Nelson Chamisa by former party spokesman Douglas Manzora has remained the major talking point.
Party leader Morgan Tsvangirai has also come under fire from some critics who are alleging that he has concentrated too much power in his office.
What do you think about these issues? If you wish to join the show right now, phone us directly at this number, 001-202-619-2077, and we'll call you back. That number again, 001-202-619-2077. You can also send us a message on WhatsApp, and our number is 1-202-465-0318. Yeah, for it.
Onguka Gibbs nasi tinoda kuti tinge tichitarisa nezvenyaya yeCongress yeMDC yakaitwa iyo kutanga nemusi wechishanu kukasarudzwa vatungamiri vatsva, asi nyaya iri pamuromo yakawanda ndiyoyi yekukundwa kwakaitwa vainge vachiona nezvekurongwa kwemabasa kana kuti organizing secretary vaNelson Chamisa navaDouglas Monzora vaiona ivo nezvekubudiswa kwemashoko pachigaro changa chakatarisirwa zvikuru nevakawanda chemunyori mukuru webato vaTsvangirai muzvare Thokozani Kupe nasachigaro webato vaLove Momoyo vainge vadzorwa kare, havana kumbonovhoterwa nekuti matunhu ose angati varambe vari panyanga. Asi vamwe vari kugunun'una kuti kuda kuchinjwa kwebumbiro remutemo reMDCT kuchipiwa masimba ari kunzi nevamwe akawandisa kuna vaTsvangirai inyaya inogona kuzonetsa mune ramangwana. Gibbs.
Yebo ngombe Zulu kandaba lingalithola njani lapha likhona ngapho ke ngemakhaya thina lo Blessing siyaphila sibile kwamagama. Namhlanje ke esiqoqa ngakho ikhongolo sina le enziweyo eMDCT. MDCT le imela phela ibandla likaMorgan Tsvangirai owayengu Prime Minister weZimbabwe. So sikhuluma nje okwamanje kukhanya ngazani ke kunenge okwenzakele khona ngale Congress. Okunye kwangikhona ukuthi ke umnumzana uTsvangirai ubiselwe ukuba ngupresident, bese kubuya lo vice wakhe uThokozani Khuphelayo ubiselwe, unational chairman laye ubiselwe uMr kumbe ngithi umnumzana uLove Moyo. Labanye ke akade bejala ukuthi babe sesikhundleni zelezo. Kodwa ophumileyo ukhanya ngazani bamvotele ukuthi angabi khona umnumzana Nelson Chamisa, siyalazi ijahethi sakhulayo njalo elalibambe isikhundla esiqhakathekile sibili kuhulumende la ku-MDC. Kukhanya ngazani ke isikhundla sakhe sesithethu ke umnumzana uDouglas Monzora, bese kubuya ke khona ngalo uTreasurer General esasiphethwe ke nguBennett kudala kanti sesibanjwe ke nguTheresa Makone. U-Abednego Bhebhe siyakwazi ukuthi ungenile uba organizing secretary lapho kwakulomnumzana khona phela uChamisa sengene kwampana ke uBhebhe. Kube sobuya lezikhundla eziningi Mr. Obed Gutu umnumzana usenguye phela osekhulumela ke ibandla
information
kukhanya ngazani kuyajova mfowethu akukhulume sizwe ukuthi ungathini ngokubona khonapha.
Of course, these are some of the resolutions at this Congress. Interesting ones, of course. There is what is called external resolution position on so-called rebels. The Congress resolved to ratify the decision of the National Council to expel Tendai Biti, Elton Mangoma, Solomon Madzore, and all the renegades who have transformed themselves into MDC renewal. This, of course, is a direct quote from the resolutions. And another resolution, it was on peaceful demonstrations. Congress noted that the new constitution allows citizens to peacefully demonstrate and petition the state on any grievance, and Congress therefore resolved that the party will embark on peaceful and constitutional demonstrations and other forms of expression around the issues to force the regime of Robert Mugabe to accept the need for reforms in the following, but not limited to, the Zimbabwe Election Commission, media, security sector, implementation of the constitution in its letter and spirit. Of course, there is also, of course, the controversial one where some are alleging that power has been concentrated in Mr. Tsvangirai's office.
Here's how it reads. Structural changes. Congress resolved to amend the constitution to allow the president to be the custodian of the party name, custodian of all party assets, to supervise all in the leadership, to be the party's chief fundraiser, and to suspend National Standing Committee members through the National Council for breach of the party constitution. In this regard, the Secretary General shall no longer be responsible for all party affairs in the National Secretariat and shall report to the President. That's exactly how it says.
And I think we have our first guest, that is political analyst and blogger, Blessing Vava. Mr. Vava, good evening.
Hey, good evening, Mr. Zulu. How are you?
I'm doing good, and thanks for joining us this evening. Gibbs, you can start the ball rolling.
Mr. Vava, what's your take on the MDC Congress? You know, the just ended Congress.
Well, I must say we must commend the MDC for having such a peaceful Congress because there have been a lot of contestations with regards to the run-up to this Congress. But I must say that we are happy that there were no incidents of violence. But however, turning to the issues that were discussed at Congress, I think the MDC, the resolutions leaves a lot to be desired. Considering that the MDC is a party that is just coming from a heavy defeat, electoral defeat by ZANU-PF in the previous elections. But if you look at what were the key resolutions that came out of that Congress, it shows that the party was concentrating more on the issues that are what I can call the trivialities, instead of concentrating much more on policy reform and make sure that they've rejuvenated their party to gain, to instill confidence in their supporters ahead of the election that is coming in 2018. Well, there are a lot of issues that are affecting the nation. As of now, ZANU-PF is in turmoil, the government is not delivering. But we didn't hear much on those discussions on the alternatives by the MDC to provide that alternative voice to make sure that come the elections in 2018, Zimbabweans will be having a better option instead of ZANU-PF. Also, looking at one of their key resolutions of concentrating power on their president, it's quite unfortunate that the MDC had to come up with spend more time deliberating on concentrating power on their president instead of going into their party policies and trying to provide alternative leadership to ZANU-PF.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vava. Of course, for those of you who are just joining us tonight on Studio 7 Live Talk, we are talking about the just ended MDCT Congress. Maybe Gibbs, if you can give us the lineup, the people who have voted in, maybe just quickly.
Yeah, quickly, as I said, the president is Mr. Moken Tsvangirai, the vice president, Tozani Kupe, national chairperson, Love Momoyo, deputy national chairperson, Moken Komichi, Secretary General Douglas Monzora, Deputy Secretary General Paulina Mpariwa, Treasurer General Teresa Makone, Deputy is Charlton Wende, Organizing Secretary Abednego Pepe, Deputy Tamsanga Matlangu, Information and Publicity Secretary Opet Kutu, the Deputy is Tabita Kumalo, Women Assembly Chair Lynette Karenyi Kore, and then the Youth Assembly Chair is Hepimo Chitsiba. Yes. So, those that are absent from this list, there is Mr. Tapio Mashakata. He's not featuring there.
Indeed.
Then we've got Mr. Gift Chimwanikire. He's not featuring there. And obviously, Mr. Chamisa.
Indeed. And Mr. Vava, we understand that Mr. Chamisa has not been reachable. Are you at all surprised?
Well, it's not surprising after facing such humiliation. If you probably look at the nomination process, it was almost certain that Mr. Chamisa was going to land the Secretary General's post, but well, the Congress came with another result probably. That's what shocked him for now.
Thank you, Mr. Vava. Of course, the issue of the changes that are being proposed on the party constitution to concentrate powers in Mr. Tsvangirai. Of course, last month we did talk to Mr. Tsvangirai about these accusations. Of course, we'll play this tape later on just to hear about his responses on the changes to the constitution. Asere Timbo Toram Tereri Vambewe Makadi. Vambewe Makadi.
Tiripo Madio Ngoma Blazing.
Aiwa tiripo muri kuona sei Congress MDC?
Aiwa ndikuona vakaifambisa zvavo zvakanaka, hapana chakaipa, vanhu vakataura zvavanoda, zvavanofunga, zvakanakawo chaizvo.
Zvii zvamakutarisira kubato here tichienda mberi?
Kutoona richitosimba kubva izvozvi, so ndoda kuti kuna Chamisa asarwadziwe. Inguva yekuchinja ndokuchinja vanhu inonzi democracy yacho yavari kuita kwete zvekutaura nevamwe kuti hanzi wondoka unotenga marwa then mutungamiri wozobva kana mahwina haafani kubva pachiri kurwiwa. Vanhu ngavasangotaura zvisina basa.
Ko vamwe vambewe vari kugunun'una kuti masimba anenge awandisa muofisi yavatsvangirai zvekuti vamwe havana chisvinu chavaakuita.
Aiwa apa vakabvira zve zvakaitwa nana Biti because Biti ainga akurana pati kuti anga ari kurana takishop.
Saka muri kutsigira zvese zvakabuda.
Hazvina mboipa kana mbichana zvinhu zvakanaka sipere.
Saka muri kuona kumberi uko zvakajeka zvekuti bato rinokwanisa kukunda musarudzo dza 2018.
Vanotopinda apa nezvino nebva kwamupokoti iri kuitika iva vanopinda.
Aiwa tinotenda
zvakanaka chaizvo.
Tinotenda zvikuru Vambewe nekupinda muchirongwa chedu.
Zvakanaka kwamuri.
Tinotenda. Of course, Mr. Mbewe is saying there's nothing wrong in concentrating power in Mr. Tsvangirai's office because what happened in the past, is a lesson. Essentially saying if you don't learn from history, you risk repeating it with all its imperfections. So he's saying what has been done is good. And of course, he's saying he's confident that the team that was elected into office will lead the party to glory.
Ngesintu-ke nxa singakhuluma-ke ngalokho kuthiwa ngama-structural changes ngitshele-ke uZulu sokukhanya ukuthi-ke sokuguqulwa isisekelo sebandla le-MDC T okwenzakalayo-ke ukuthi sokuthiwa-ke umnumzana uTsvangirai nguye oyabe sezibambile khona ngale kubandla uyabe khangele khona ukuthiwa iphathi yona ngwayo ukuthi isimbolo yankhona nguye oseyibambile kuzobuya njalo ukuthi impahla yonke ebandla kumele ikhangelwe nguye bese kubuye ukuthi nguye futhi okhangela ukuthi kambe abanye abakhokhela khonapho benza njani kuleli bandla nxa sokubuya futhi lokuthi kudingwa imali nguye oseyingqulele yankhona ukuthi uyadinga imali bese kubuya lokuthi-ke i-National Standing Committee selelungelo lokuthi angaqotsha amfunayo angaqotsha umfunayo khonapho kumele abe sesiya ku-National Council afike abatshele ukuthi hayi kulo muntu oyo nje usephambanisisekile izinto eziningi bese kubuya njalo lokuthi-ke umnumzana uTsvangirai usethe khona wathatha amandla ka-SG uSecretary General ukuthi konke okusecretariat nguye phela umele ethi yanga kuzima mfowethu ngeke ngikhulume lo mnumzana uMandla. Mr. Mandla, good evening and welcome to the program.
Yes, how are you guys?
Oh, very fine. How are you?
No, I'm doing good.
Good. Where are you in South Africa?
Now I'm in Mpumalanga now.
Oh, very good. So tell us, what do you think about this issue?
That thing is a bit tricky. I don't exactly understand the reasons why they loaded all those duties on a particular individual. It's something that is open for discussion. Let me put it that way. But there is no solid reason of overloading one person with all those responsibilities, because from what you are saying now, and when I read it over the newspaper and in the internet, I read about that issue. So it's like he is now the president of the party, he is the secretary general of the party, he is the fundraising committee of the party. He's almost everything, but in one individual, you see. And if he was a gentleman enough, let me put it that way, if he was a gentleman enough, there was no reason for the party to be afraid of the SG of the party. They are supposed just to let the constitution as it is. I think the issue that happened about it was a personal issue between Tsvangirai and the DP. It was not something that had to do with the constitution of the party. So with that, they are not solving anything, because that same constitution that they are going to write, it will give us problems again, because that leaves Tsvangirai with the leeway to do whatever he wants to do over a night or during the day or at any given hour. So he has all the powers with him now, which is the same scenario again we are complaining about with this Kushugo dynasty thing.
So, but do you think... Yes, go ahead.
So it is the same thing. In other words, we are not transforming anything. We are just taking the baton from the Kushungo dynasty to Puera dynasty. You see, so to me, it's not proper. They were not supposed to have done that. They are not supposed to tamper with the constitution of the party. Douglas Monzora is a lawyer by profession. He knows the law. I don't see him infringing into Tsvangirai's powers or trying to override Tsvangirai. I think my understanding is they must leave that constitution as it is. It was a personal issue between DP and Tsvangirai and nothing else.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mandla, and have a nice night there.
Okay, well.
So according to uMandla lapha uthi ke nxa usubiza ke umnumzana uTsvangirai ngama-titles akhe wonke uyabusithi Mr. President, Secretary General, Chief Fundraiser and Supervisor of the party. Yeah.
Of course, last month we did ask Mr. Tsvangirai about the proposal to amend the constitution, and this was his response when we talked to him about the issue of the party constitution and the powers of the president.
This is fiction. Every time we go to a Congress, as we are preparing for the October Congress, structures are given an opportunity to look at the Constitution with the intention of reviewing whatever section needs amendment given our experience. So the process which is taking place is a grassroots-based process. The people are giving inputs to the committee or to the commission that we have set up. The commission or the committee has not even reported to the organs of the party. Once they are through, they will come to the executive who will examine the report and they will send it back to the structures to verify their input before we send it to the National Council and then before we submit it to Congress. So that process is still ongoing. There is no such thing that I want to manipulate the people. After all, I have spent the rest of the almost 35 years of my life in the trade unions and in the party fighting against dictatorship. I am totally loose when people suggest or even suggest that I intend to be a dictator, which I am not. MDC haisi yavatsvangirai MDC ndeyavanhu masimba ari kutaurwa handizi kuti masimba ei pese patinoenda kucongress ma-organs eparty vanogara pasi vachitarira bumbiro romutemo. In fact, it's a requirement of the constitution kuti vanhu ngavatarire constitution vaone ma-areas anda kuti agadziriswe zvinobva kuvanhu hazvibvi kunhu vatsvangirai ende masimba ari kutaurwa ini handisi muhurumende masimba ari kutaurwa ndeokunyederana vamwe vachiti masimba ada kutarisa mugabe kudii kwacho. Musangano wedu weMDC une mvumo yokuti uongorore constitution. Tine komiti yatakaisa yakatenderera nyika yese ichibvunza vanhu vane maviews avo and toda kutora maviews iwayo agova the basis yokuti vanhu vakazochinja bumbiro romutemo, not because kutsvangirai aripo kana kuti hapo.
That, of course, there is the MDC leader, Morgan Tsvangirai, in his own words about the constitution, Gibbs.
Yeah, ngokutsho kwakhe sibili ukuthi akula ndaba lokhu ngaba lawo amandla lawo xa ewaphiwe ngabantu. So ke siyamuzwa kakhulu. Mbona ngizani sesilo umuntu ecingweni lapha ke Blessing. Our second guest, and that is Mr. Bekezela Matuma. He is an independent political analyst based in Gwanda, that is Matabele South Province. Mr. Matuma, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, Gideon. Blessing. How are you?
We are doing great. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, it does change sinto kolapho ukuthi kambe ubona njani khonoko okwenzakale kubandla leMTC okwekhongolose.
Bangakhuluma uTsvangirai labanye bafoti bathini baphilekile. The bottom line is the MTC sebevulelelayo namuhla. I see you're the original MTC abantu ababeyifuna. The constitution is completely far away from what MTC had formed in 1990. Around the party form. Tsvangirai is literally protected the MTC. Why Kovela with ZANU-PF? This is ZANU-PF is very connected to the Republic. The constitution in the Dala was the problem the issue of Secretary General. Protected some duties were for president. Same on the constitution is ZANU-PF was president in 1981. It released the position of Secretary General. So that the president, the party now becomes the first secretary, president and first secretary. Literally, we cannot run away from the city. We are creating a dictator. So Tsvangirai should not try and take us for granted. He has born in the land. We see where all this is going and where all this is coming from. If we contest ZANU-PF, we suggest that now and was a CNTC. Azingenea uzamti that both abantu iminyaka yonke le esenzingasaje creating alternative to ZANU-PF ukuzayisalezo abantu bafana into efanana leZANU-PF. But this constitution is now is exactly what is ZANU-PF is. When we saw last change, I would try to feel 70 exactly for this one now. So I need to take that I have a challenge in the around akusela MTC la yani ka 99 yaseko okufuna ngabantu akuseko ukuthi sokukhona yake.
Yes, siyakuzwa kakhulu ke baba Matuma. Ungayikatshana, what he's saying is that this is no longer the original MTC of 1999. So MTC is now like a ZANU-PF clone. You know, when you look at the constitution, he says the Secretary General's position has been converted to almost the same to that of the ZANU-PF constitution, in which the first secretary is the president of the party. So you still remember that ZANU-PF used to have a secretary, but then they changed and then had the president taking over, all those kind of positions. So he says, there's something going on here.
Rigatidzoke kwamuri vavhavha panyaya yekuti MDC iri kuda kuratidzira mumugwagwa apa muri kupaona sei?
Kuratidzira kuda kuitwa nebato reMDC handioni zvinhu zvakashata, nekuti bumbiro remutemo riripo rinobvumidza kuti zvinhu zvakadaro zvinenge zvichiitika, uyezve kana vamacitizens achiva achinyunyuta neutongo hunenge huchiitika, kuda utongo, kuda nyaya yeikonomi, kuda nyaya yechinyi, zvinhu zvinokurudzirwa kuti vanhu vaite vachiisa pressure kuhurumende yaMugabe kuti aiwa vanhu vari kunyunyuta nematengero avo, vanhu havasi kufara nezviri kuitika munyika, muzvipatara hamina mishonga, zvikoro vana havasunda kuzvikoro nenyaya yekuti mafees akudhura. Asi handioni bato reMDC rine capacity yekumobiliza maZimbabweans akawanda kuti vave vanoenda mumigwagwa varatidzire. Tikatarisa MDC for the past 5 years yanga iri mu-inclusive government yakakanganisa momentum yemaZimbabweans mazhinji, nekuti vanga vaakudya nebato reZANU-PF vachikanganwa donzvo ravo guru ravanga rapindira imomo, nekuti vaconsolidate magains avanga vawana kuitira kuti vazokwanisa kuti vabvise bato reZANU-PF.
Thank you so much, Koma Vava Rambai muri parunare. Of course, we have some messages on WhatsApp. First we have Saunyama anoti tapinda na mkoma dagao. Tongai says a greater achievement has been achieved. It shows that there is maturity within the party. Let's hope all will be done peacefully and there will be stability. Sorry Chamisa, wakururwa senyatera muka amaone kwakabuda nezuwa. After all, this is long from Right Moyo in South Africa. I don't know what that means. There is nothing wrong in giving Tsvangirai more powers. He is the president and head of the party. He holds the biggest position, meaning he is the leader. How can one lead when he does not yield the power? He will be more of a puppet than a leader. So, of course, Tongai is saying, Mr. Tsvangirai, it's good that he be given more powers. Those are some of the texts that we are receiving. Tinemwe mtereri, arti anonzi, listen. Makadi mkoma listen.
Sir, how are you?
Tiripo zo edumuri sei?
I can't complain.
Tipeo pfungwadze nyipanya ye kongresi.
You know, democracy is at stake.
Pamuri pane radio ere nekuti phone yenyu iri kuita maungira. Ya dzorai volume nekuti mukavhurisa volume hatinzwanani panenge paakutoita dambudziko.
You know, my point and my contribution is that democracy is at stake in most parts of the country. So in other words, I only want to say that people are trying to have peace, people are trying to come together. The more they try to do that, the more confusion we have. So in other words, I only want to put a point to say that we can try to preach peace, try to preach democracy, but when we try to preach those things, the more confusion we have in the world. America is saying they are the most democratic people, but they are killing in Afghanistan. MDC is saying that the most democratic people in Zimbabwe. But look what is happening. People are running out of the country.
Mkoma, listen, please do stay on the line. We are going to take a short break and then we'll continue with our discussion. And for our radio listeners, we are streaming live. Go to www.voazimbabwe.com and press on Live Talk. This is Blessing Zulu.
And I'm Kip Stube saying, stay tuned, Zimbabwe.
for those of you who are just joining us, good evening, and this is Live Talk. And tonight on Live Talk, we are talking about the MDCT Congress, which ended yesterday. Of course, the major talking points, the first one being complaints that the party has concentrated more power in the office of the president. And there was also, of course, the shock defeat of party organizing secretary or former party organizing secretary Nelson Chamisa by former party spokesperson Douglas Monzora. Of course, we are talking about the hotly contested Secretary General's post. Gibbs.
If you wish to join the show right now, phone us directly at this number 001-202-619-2077. And before we proceed, I can read one or two messages. We've got so many messages on WhatsApp, on Facebook. Blessing. One of those messages is from Cassius J. Mpofu, who says, Moken Zwangira is becoming another monster, just like Robert Mugabe. That is President Robert Mugabe. He is now in total control of the party, and whoever disagrees with him will either be suspended or fired from the party. He is now the sole proprietor of the party. Then we've got another message from Abisha, who writes, Mr. Nelson Chamisa is still a member of the party, even if he was defeated. Then we've got Gerald, who writes, please, let's not leave our legend, Honorable Nelson Chamisa, out. We still need him. Then we've got Baba Patience, who writes, that's democracy. There is a winner and a loser. Then Mtozi Komo writes, biggest losers are Chamisa, Mr. Skala, Mr. Mashagada, and it's now clear that the MDCT and ZANU-PF are just the same thing. They're led by detectors. Then we've got Jimmy, who writes, some Zimbabweans love heroes more than ethical leadership and good governance. That's what has happened to the MDCT. Then the last message, Blessing, is from Tyson Dube, who writes, why is it that there is no balance in tribes in the party? I think this is a lot of segregation. Yeah.
Of course, we have a listener. Listen is the name. You can continue. You were talking about your views on this issue of the Congress. Yes.
Yes, sir. I mean, I also don't see anything wrong in giving Tsvangirai much power. Because if you've got two centers of power, you've got the Secretary General, and then you've got the President, they'll be all the powers. I'm telling you, there'll be confusion. And the important is because these are two centers of power. Hence, I see no problem in giving Tsvangirai much power because he is the one to control the party. And also, in that power, he needs to delegate. Then you can say this is democracy. And coming back to the issue of Chamisa, I think Chamisa has done a lot for the party. Hence, taking him away, we are going to have another confusion of whether under MDCM, so to say. MDCC, in other words. So my point is that in democracy, and in the fair election, there is a winner, there is a loser. Chamisa is lost, of course. So I think the MDC is supposed to keep him as their cadre and deploy him somewhere. I don't know how, but then the issues are program and him away of letting go in the political wilderness. It's a danger again because of the people who can come out with the MDC.
Thank you so much for your contribution.
And lastly, I just want to say that we can. I'm a sociologist. We can try to say that let's come together, right? That one, my point is we will never ever come together congruently. We can share differences. People got differences. Those differences must be constructive differences, not to be destructive differences. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling us. We hope you'll be calling again. Interesting views that you are sharing with us there. Tine mwezve mutereri ari parunhare handizive kuti ndiva zhou here.
Ya ndiva zhou.
Makadi yenyu?
Ndofara zvangu makadini imwi.
Aiwa isu tinotamba tipewo pfungwa dzenyu nekongresi.
Congress ndoiona sokuti yakafamba zvakanaka chaizvo.
Sei muchidaro?
ndinoona kuti hapana kuita musindo, hapana chakanesa kuipa. Ndoti nekuna avo vakaruza zvagara zvinoitika ndizvo zvinonzi maelection iwawo. Pamaelection tinofanira kuti tione umwe unoruza umwe achiwina, nekuti havangawini vari vaviri, hazviiti pamaelection. Ndoti zoime kuna ivavo vakaruza vasachitiza zvemupati, nekuti havana kupindira mupati maposition. Vakapinda mupati vavona zvakaipa zvinoitiwa nezano, saka ndizvo zvatinonanga kubvisa izvozvo.
Right. Ko pane zvimwe zvisungo izvi vamwe vari kuti vatsangira vapowa masimba akawandisa, nepane chisungo chekuti vanhu varatidzire kuti vamanikidze hurumende kuti ivandudze zvinhu, munoti kudii nazvo?
Ini pamasimba zvipana munhu ungaende headmaster wechikoro ukona kuziva zviri kuitika mune mikilasi zvingaita izvozvo. Rino kana ari
halo vazhou nhare yavo inenge isiri kuita zvakanaka. Vazhou muri kundinzwa here? Of course, but before the phone cut off, of course, he was saying that those who lost must work with the winners, you know, because you are not in the party for positions. And on the issue of giving powers to Mr. Tsvangirai, he's saying there's nothing wrong. If you are headmaster of a school, you must know what is happening in each and every class.
Hey, before I take this call, Mr. Vava, what could be the role of Mr. Chamisa in this new leadership structure, briefly?
Well, I think for Mr. Chamisa, he has to accept what came out of Congress. Age is still on his side, and he can bounce back.
So it's a matter of time, eh?
Yes.
Mr. Maduna?
Mr. Matuma?
Yes, I can hear you.
Mr. Matuma, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you, please. I can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, we are asking about the role that can be given to Chamisa and even Tapiwa Mashakada.
Well, personally, if I was mentioning Chamisa at this stage, I would not quit the party. This is the time that he needs to show his potential. You know, this is typical politics. You go down with it and go up with it, go down with it and go up with it until you get where you want to get to. If you look at the MPCT, the reason why people are complaining about the MPC and the MPCT and the direction that it is taking and the continuous losing of elections is because there is too much of leaving Morgan Tsvangirai, too much of giving up on Morgan Tsvangirai. And that kind of too much of giving up is the very thing that is creating kind of character that we are getting from Morgan Tsvangirai. So for people like Skala, Chamisa, Machagata, and the others that look manicured in the life, those people who we know have always been questioning some of the leadership traits that Morgan Tsvangirai has been trying to put. So if they also leave, the unfortunate thing is the people on the ground do not live with them. Some of them remain stuck to Tsvangirai. And as long as he is left alone, stuck to people and leading people the wrong way, without people like Chamisa and Kala questioning him, we will never get anywhere. So if I were them, at this juncture, I would not leave the party. Now, if you are an ordinary carrying member of the party, then you have a voice. Some of the leaders. Because you speak independently without fear. Unlike when you're in a position of authority, you should be answering questions instead of throwing questions. You should be defending instead of challenging. So this is their opportunity to do the things that they want the party to do. The 5 years for it to do all that. Congress is coming. If I was all these guys, I would not leave it. Speak to the party and force this sentiment to go the line of what the people expect.
Thank you, Mr. Maduma.
Yes, bona khulike mnumzana Matuma. Sike sithathe ke umnumzana uDube ose Botswana. Baba Dube ungachona njani?
Sishone baba Dube shona njani?
Hayi sithole kakhulu kunjani kona ngapha eButswana?
Hayi eButswana kuyakhandela nje izulu liyafafaza nje kancane.
Nasi Kongolo se-MDC ungathi ngayo.
Lapho kunokunzima mfowethu Dube. Undoda lo uthetha amandla wonke amaningi ngapho ngu-president uthatha konke izikhundla zonke into yonke data information yonke which means ukuthi if MDC yona ngwayo sibili isiphelile isingakaswangirayi. Ngendlela ngibona ngayo mina engikhangele ngayo la kusasa le-MDC ukuthi seliphelile. Ayisayikho kwakasa kubumbele i-MDC ngo-1999 hayi ayisayikho lokho sokhangantwa yinto nje yomuntu sesenziswa intando yomunye umuntu ongasayikho ngomthetho wephathi ukuthi ungazukhangela iCongress yesi bakhethile abantu ngendlela eyiyo nje bakhetho but into eyahluphile into yokwamenda imithetho yakade seyifaka imithetho sefaka amandla esikhwameni sakhe which is wrong ayikho.
Nxa sesikhangela njalo umnumzana uNelson Chamisa kumele enzeni unqotshiwe phela kukhetho wona ubona ngazani kungathiwani ngakho?
Uchamisa ngayinqotshiwe bhangezinye indlela xa sesikhangele njengento ethiwa sesikhuluma ngedemocracy kumele accept awu-understand but ngamanje amadoda adele power ku-MDC ngamadoda ezizokhala angaqhubekisela phambili umsebenzi nje omuhle siya phambili but nxa kuyukuthi abantu yibo abakade bekhetha kuyukuthi kade kungelabo bucilibezelo bumjilimbani phakathi kumele ame as a member of party esenza nje umsebenzi esupporta nje ukuthi umsebenzi weparty uyephambili. Into eziyisola mina vele kakhulu ngesayidi nami ngisola la amandla ade ethathwa nguSwankira yafaka esikhwameni sakhe hayi lapho kazwana nisho.
Kodwa ubona ngazani nxa ungabuya ukhetho
umnumzana labona uJob Sakhala bavalwa phandle okutshela ukuthi ngamadoda ade khangela ade lembone eminye ecigile ukudlula yakho uMr Swangirayi kodwa ngamadoda ade ngithi ngade sonje bathi bavala phandle no wona ade vele ungekho ngekho awusamela sesathatha njengomuntu omutsha but ngendlela kade bekhuluma ngakuqala ade sithi sifuna ispirit ka-99 so Sakhala ade bebuya sithi ngespirit ka-99 ade besathi sesiyafaka one more isupport eyi-one into yonke isizalunga ngendlela eqondile yakho santo izakuhlupha futhi kusasa nabo seyawavale phandle kabasekho emsebenzini.
Hayi siyakuzwa kakhulu-ke mnumzana Dube khona ngapha eButswana ngapha khona khonapha
nabo se-Francis Town.
Hayi sibongile kakhulu khona ngapha ke-Francis Town ungathini nokusasa?
Ngibongile kakhulu ngithumezela iradio.
Hayi siyakuthumezela mnumzana sibongile baba.
Thank you, Bob.
So according to Mr. Dube, the MDC is now Mr. Tsvangirai's property. And he believes that, he has got too much power, and that's dangerous for the nation and for the party, Yeah.
Let's, before we take our next caller, go back to Mr. Vava and say, Mr. Vava, there are some who are, of course, arguing that with the factional fights in ZANU-PF, the opposition, not only the MDC, but all the opposition forces have been found wanting. Do you agree?
Yes. In fact, the opposition parties have been reduced to mere spectators and analysts of ZANU-PF's ongoings. But one thing that they don't know is that ZANU-PF, they're having this debate and they're structuring their party and their congress. And I can assure you, from the history of ZANU-PF, out of that come after that congress in December, ZANU-PF would have started its house in place, and they've been now talking of the elections in 2018. While the opposition is sleeping, there is no alternative. They are not proffering solutions in how they are going to tackle the ZANU-PF regime. All we are hearing about is their internal fights and also admiring or sympathizing with a certain faction of ZANU-PF instead of reorganizing themselves as opposition parties, come together, present a united front that is going to challenge ZANU-PF in 2018. Because from the history of the last elections, we have seen that it would be highly impossible for these parties to go it alone. Only if they come together and present a united front, that's the only way that they can be able to defeat ZANU-PF in the election in 2018.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vava. Regatiende kuna mkoma Jays, makadi mkoma Jays. Mkoma Jays.
Hello.
Makadi.
Hello.
Tipewo pfungwa dzenyu panyaya yekongresi yeFDC.
Pfungwa dziri kuona dzekuti kutora kwakaita chigaro Douglas Zora zvinhu zvakanaka chaizvo, but according nemasimba akazopuwa watsangira zvinhu zvakanaka, but chinoenda kuitika nechekuti kushanda kwaimboita secretary general akanga aine masimba akawanda. Tichitarisa according kuwa neserenyowa, but zvakanakira kuwa kwatsvangira kwemasimba akawanda zvinoda kunge aine kubatana kwakanyanyisa mupati, nekuti MTC renewal ana biki vachida kutora maassetsi because wakanga waine masimba akanyanyisa sereka. Saka watsangira vanofanirwa kushanda navanhu zvakanyanyisa because ndo vanenge vaine masimba ose.
Asi naye Mkoma Jays, handizvo here zviri kushorwa neyo MDC yacho ichiti vamugabe vane masimba akawandisa, saka zvasiyanei?
Right, ndizvo tiri kutaura kuti kana waine masimba ose vanofanirwa kusenza zvakanyanyisisa because kuva nemasimba kuzvireva kuti ndivo vanenge vakatoisa joko racho pamusana, hazvichadi kusundudzira vamwe. Because kuva nemasimba ose tinotozvikudza, but chinodikana nechekuti zvinenge zvichida kushanda because vamugabe vane masimba ose but vanenge vaine mavoices. Handiti munozvibata ndozvatirekedza kutaura kuti vanofanira kana munhu uine masimba ose, which means play zvese zvinenge zviri paground.
Asi imimi sevanhu mungade kutrusta here mapoliticians ane masimba akawandisa?
Ndizvo tinoda because tinoda kuti musangano uramba wakabatana, because tikada kutarisira kuti dai masimba akaramba dai zvanga zvakadaro kumashure uku tingongodai pasina renyowa kana kupasina kuita musangano.
Saka demokrasi yacho inenge iri papi manje Mkoma Jays? Kana munhu wani mubato rese achinzi ndoonoita zvese?
According nepolitics dzemuZimbabwe vamwe vanhu nekunyanya kufunda ndo zvinoita kuti zvinhu zvizodaro because chinodiwa pavanhu veZimbabwe ndechekuti chinangwa nechipi.
Ko kufunda kwakaipa here nhai kana uchizosimudzira nyika nebato?
Chinoita kuti hakuna kuipa but kuda kuzozvisisa zvinoita kuti vamwe vanhu vazoita sezvinhu zvese zvinenge zviine advantage nedisadvantage, kuda kuona kushata kwechinhu nekunaka kwechinhu ndo zvingozokonzeresa izvozvo izvo.
Ko demokrasi handiti ndo zvainoita here nhai Mkoma Jays kuti tinogona kusawirira lamba pfungwa?
Right, demokrasi yakanga iripo but tikada kutarisa demokrasi yaane mapato akawandisisa according MDC, mane MDC akawandisisa niwede kuda kwedemocracy, but democracy yakanaka but according mane tichizvitarisa zvakaita vatsangirai kana kuti zvakaibva pacongress zvinhu zvakanaka but zvinenge zvakuchida kushanda nevanhu pamwe chete.
Alright, mati mutungamiri akaita masimba akawandisa hapana chakaipa, asi vamugabe vanawo akawandisa muZANU-PF iko zvino hamusi kuibata murefu bata mupfupi?
Izvo zviri kumba kwevanhu izvo zvinozikana nevari kumba ikoko, but tichizvitarisa hedu zviri kuZANU-PF hatizvibati, asi chatingoda kutarisira tingoda kutarisa zviri kumusha kwedu kuti tingawaka sei, bo tikadawaka tichitarisa musha weumwe wanhu hawedu ungotopfa.
Aiwa, tinotenda hedu Mkoma Jays, because Jays there is saying it's not bad for power to be concentrated in Tsvangirai's office, but he must also work hard. But because I also argued with him a bit when he said that there are some people in the party who are educated. I don't think that should disqualify anyone. I think we should encourage actually people to go to school and have a vibrant democracy. You know, having a degree should not be a disadvantage.
That's right.
In a democracy and in any country, you know.
You know, if you're not too educated, that's a temporary setback.
Yes.
But we can do most, issues without that kind of education. But anyway, sibona ukuthi silomlaleli lapha ecingweni. Umnumzana uPatrick ose Goli. Baba Patrick, ungawutshona njani?
Hayi ngiyatshona baba, litshona njani ngapho Mthembu?
Hayi sitholile mdaweni ye, banjani abantwana?
Ya hayi bona bavuka baba, ngapho ngathi yanetha nje yikho kusijabulisayo.
Yes, sithi chacha indaba yethu singamafutshane sibili siyephulele khonapho. Akuchayi sizwe baba. Uthini?
Yebo baba, hayi mina ngiyajabula sibili. Ngibona ukuthi lamadoda la abebeka yonke imbono ngoba uThwangirayi balombono omuhle. uThwangirayi ngubaba ofithi kulawo amapost wonke abambeke wona. Njalo indoda elombono evele ilesithunzi ngijabulela futhi ukuthi icorruption kayifuni kubandla lakhe. Ngoba siyakubona amaqembu amaningi lapha phethe zepolitiki afuna ukusebenzisa icorruption isebenze phakathi komphakathi ngenxa yokuthi uyabethi angayiyekelela uzasoleka. Wonke lawa amaqembu nje abaleka kuye ethi abeka awawo azonda khona ukuthi uThwangirayi uyayivimba icorruption, uyaluvimba ubandlululo, uyazivimba into ezenzakala ngendlela engaparticipate endleleni zedemocracy. Mina ngibona indoda sibili enhle elombono omuhle from the start ubunjwa iMDC. So angilawa amaningi sibili ngathi ngiyabonga amadoda abebeka lapha abebeka umqondo. Njalo lali indoda yako lokhu zenlenye ngizwe iqamba ukuthi yiyo ebekwe kulesi sikhundla abakhipha omunye. Indoda enhle kabi bathi nguMonzora. Yeah, indoda enhle sibili is fit for that position again. Even through kubhebhe laphana is a good man. Istraight kabi kabambe kunjalo lapho kasidingi education sidinga ukulungiswa kwelizwe siphathe abantu kahle.
Isikhathi sathi ngikende sathi zamchaya kumdaweni isikhathi. Otherwise awuchayela mnandi baba.
Ngiyabonga Mthembu yiwo lawe bemphongo ufuna ukuwabeka nje ngibongile sure.
Siyawezwa sibila phezulu amazwi akho. Sibongile kakhulu ke mdaweni uphenduke phela la kusasa. Ungakhohlwa.
Hayi kuhle Mthembu sithembayo ngibongile baba lilale kahle.
Mdaweni baba siyabonga. So according to yes, according to Patrick, you know, he is happy about Mr. Thwangirayi's leadership. Says this is a very good man. He's a visionary. You know, he's a man of the people. He doesn't like corruption in the party. So that's the leader that he wants. There's nothing wrong with him, according to him, yeah.
Mr. Amaduna, let's talk about some of these issues that our listeners are raising. They are saying that there is no problem with Mr. Thwangirayi having more power concentrated in his office because that will unify the party. They are saying they are talking from past experience.
Yeah, blessing. You know, I don't blame the people. This is the time that we need to start educating our people. You know, when people to
Mr. Maduma, if you can try to move, we can hardly hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I am saying that perhaps this is the time that we now need to start educating our people. So when people are used to going a certain direction, they will always believe that that is the right direction. Even when there is an alternative direction. You know, we are so used to the kind of government where they are not allowed to think, where they are not allowed to voice, where all the power is centralized. And to them, as long as it is like that, it is fine. So that's why they don't do anything wrong. If it's Thwangirayi being given those powers. We no longer need a ruler who's been ruled for too long. We now need leaders. People who will guide ourselves. People who will lead us where we want to go. These powers that have been given to Thwangirayi are completely way off the democratic movement that the people wanted. So it's a question of saying, do we want a purely democratic movement or do we still want to remain in the same situation where we were? If we elevate the current speaker and then just want to remove President Mugabe and put somebody else in his place, then we can go on and put Thwangirayi in President Mugabe's place with the same conditions that we have been in, and we enjoy it like that and go on. But that is not what the people wanted to leave the MPC was established. The element is in understanding what the MPC wanted. We no longer need this kind of leader. now so coordinated as to go to a fruitful demonstration. You may need that, but we are not yet so coordinated. That thing is when everybody says, yes, this is now what we want. But as long as we still, some of our people believing that some of the things that we want to get rid of are fine, then it can never be coordinated to the extent of going to an effective mass action against, whoever must be demonstrated against. So for now, all those things fall aside. The opposition just needs to first of all get organized, make sure everything is in order. If there will be other means that we will change without the demonstration. We know how bloody the demonstrations will be. I'm talking of from a position of fear, but the reality, we know how bloody they could be, and we know who's going to be the victim. Are we ready to face all those now? That's the big question. As long as we are, then people can go ahead. About Nelson Chamisa, I think I've said enough. If you just stay in the party, let him not move, let him take time and, go into retrospect and think, if he panics now and just standing around, that will be the end of him.
Thank you so much, Mr. Maduma. Now, Mr. Vava, are you still on the line?
I'm online.
Another resolution passed by the MDC was on the land and agriculture. And I quote, this is what they said. In this regard, the MDC supports the need to appoint a professional land commission that will look into issues of non-partisan access to land, compensation, land tenure, and agricultural production. What is your take on the MDC and the land issue?
Well, I think that is a very positive resolution to come out of that Congress. Because if we look at how the land redistribution was conducted by ZANU-PF in 1999 and 2000, it was very chaotic. And up to now, we had reports of multiple ownership of farms, while the majority of Zimbabweans are still landless. So I think we have to commend the MDC for coming up with that resolution to ensure that there is transparency in terms of the distribution of land.
And what about the boycott of elections? Any party is there to win power. So if they're out of the elections, what happens to the MDC?
Well, it's quite unfortunate that the constitution that we have and all the laws that we have currently are products of the inclusive government. So for the MDC to say that they are boycotting election, I think that's being hypocritical, because its staying inclusive government was to make sure that there are adequate reforms that will allow Zimbabweans to have a free and fair election. But come on, they were part and parcel of the constitution of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. They were part and parcel of the appointments of ZEC, part and parcel of the writing of the new constitution, and they were part and parcel of the organizing of the elections that was conducted last year. So I think it's very unfair for the MDC to start complaining now about reforms and to start talking about boycotting elections.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vava. And we just want to take this opportunity to thank our guest this evening, Mr. Blessing Vava, a political analyst, and another political analyst, Bekezela Maduma. We also want to thank those who sent emails to us and those who text us via WhatsApp and also on Facebook. And, of course, we want to thank our team behind the scenes. That is our engineers and producers. Signing off, this is yours truly, Blessing Zulu.
And I'm Gibbs to saying good night, Zimbabwe.